All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the combined agenda and workshop meeting of the Howell Township Mayor and Council. It's 6:30. I would ask Ms. Woolman to please read the appropriate opening statement.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 1, 2007. By the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Isley Park Press, Tri-Town News and Star Ledger for publication on January 1, 2007. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 1, 2007. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with 3 emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows. Upon exiting the meeting room to the rear, they are to immediate left and immediate right, and at the front of the meeting room at the left of the dais. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77. Roll call, Mrs. Dalton.
She's not currently here.
Mr. Howell.
Here.
Mrs. Showmaker.
Also not currently here.
Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mayor DeBella.
Here. All right, Ms. Schlegel, I believe we have reason to go into executive session. Is that right?
Yes, we do, Mayor. Contract
reasons.
negotiations and litigation.
I think we should also add to that, I would suspect employment issues,
Personnel.
personnel. Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
I'd ask that someone please read or Mrs. Woolman, if you'd please read the necessary statement.
Whereas Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 13 of the New Jersey Revised Statutes require that the public shall not be excluded from any meeting of a public body unless a resolution authorizing such exclusion is adopted at a public meeting. Whereas the Township Council of the Township of Howell has determined that such a closed meeting is required to discuss certain matters which are exempted from consideration with the public in attendance under New Jersey Revised Statutes 10:4-12. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Howell that the public shall be excluded from the next portion of this meeting, and that the Township Council will reconvene in public session thereafter. Be it further resolved that minutes will be kept of the meeting in closed session, and the time and the circumstances under which a discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public cannot be determined at this time.
Need a motion and a second, please.
So moved, man. Second.
Any remarks or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Howell.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mayor DeBella.
Yes. All right, for the benefit of the public, we expect to convene for public business in approximately 1 hour. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Ready? All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to reconvene this meeting to order. This is the November 27th meeting of the Howell Township Mayor and Council. This is our combined agenda and workshop session. We've already had our appropriate opening statements. I'd ask that everyone please rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that everyone just please remain standing for a moment in silent observation of the many troops that defend this country all over the world. Thank you. Before we get to our business piece of the agenda, I'm going to ask the council to please join me in the front. I had a group of Cub Scouts here tonight. They were doing a citizenship award, and one of the young fellas said, "What's the favorite part about being the mayor?" And I said, "When I have an opportunity to recognize young people." They had no idea what I was talking about. They were 8 and 9-year-olds. But this truly is the most rewarding part of being involved in Howell Township, is when you can take some time to recognize young people who are the future leaders of our community in whatever they elect to do. And tonight, again, we have a real distinct privilege of acknowledging a number of students from the Howell Township Public School System. Thank you, Councilman. It was an article that appeared in the paper, and that's how we often learn about some of these things. And the headline read, "Howell Technology Pupils Attend a National Conference." And sure enough, we had members of the Middle Schools Technology Student Association, the TSA, and members of that organization you're here tonight, the young people and their advisors, who competed at the TSA National Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. And apparently this is a very significant competition, and our young people participated in a rather very significant, very serious conference. The competition hosted 5,000 technology education students from more than 30 states and 2 countries. And as is of no surprise to anyone who comes from our community, the children, the young people from Howell Township did terrific and really brought great honor and distinction to our community. And so it is very appropriate that we take as much time as we should, as often as we can, to recognize the young people from Howell Township. They competed in a variety of challenges based on the principles and concepts involving science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Each of the 10 TSA members from Howell had placed in the competitive events at the New Jersey State version of this competition, which secured them this particular place at the national conference. And I'm sure there's many more stories and great things that came of this event, but we did want to recognize the supervisors, the instructors from the school system that were involved, and notably the young people. Oftentimes you pick up the paper and you read things that aren't so fun, whether it's about our community or somebody else's. But it never fails that the young people in Howell always find a way to bring real distinction to our community. So first I'm going to recognize the supervisors and advisors to the organization, and they would perhaps hopefully come up and shed some additional light on the conference and the award that our students received. And this particular certificate, I'll read it aloud. It's a certificate from the mayor and council. It reads, "The Howell Township School District for outstanding leadership as the supervisor of technology for the Howell K-8 School District, and is recognized for successfully leading your students toward placing second at the 29th Annual National Technology Student Association Conference." So this is for the supervisor of the group. The first person is, it's like I'm at the Academy Awards. The first person is Claire Williams. I see Miss Williams is here. Thank you very much. Would you like to add anything further to the event and
well,
your students?
actually,
Please.
I'd really like to thank, on behalf of the Board of Education and the administration at Howell Township, I'd really like to thank Mayor and the Town Council for acknowledging the students. They are a fine group of young citizens. You'll see them coming up, and I can honestly say some of them might even be possibly a video game maker in the future. Some of them might even be an engineer for the township. So they're a great group of students, and we are proud of their accomplishments. And thank you for recognizing them.
Thank you. Thank you. We have some other folks.
Thank you very much.
The advisor to the group is Joshua Landenberger. Mr. Landenberger. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have another advisor, Jennifer Eaton. Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks. And another advisor, Thomas Semko. Not here. Okay, we'll make sure Mr. Semko gets this. And the first of the students who participated, I suspect they're all here. I'm going to read the award for the students, which was different than those of the faculty members. It is a certificate of achievement presented to, and it'll name the individual, of Howell Township School District for outstanding performance, placing second at the 29th Annual National Technology Student Association Conference. On behalf of the Mayor and Council, we'd like to wish you best of luck in all of your future endeavors. It's presented this 27th day of November with the seal of the Township of Howell. And the first young person is Channing Huang. Okay. She is on the board, though. Okay. Congratulations. Shayla? I'm not that good with names from time to time, so you'll have to forgive me. Shayla Huck. Did I get it right? Close, close. I'm in the ballpark. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
This is an easy one. I won't screw this one up. John Kelly. Boy, John, I'm glad you're next. Congratulations.
Tough middle name, John, like Aloysius maybe?
Craig Hatch. Congratulations, Craig. Thank you. Brian Howard. Congratulations, Brian. Thank you. Brian Blood. Congratulations. Thanks. Nice job. Thank you. Tyler Ornstein. I've been following Tyler for a few years. You've gotten pretty big, Tyler. Congratulations. It's good to see you. Good work. Robert Rubiano. Congratulations. Thank you. Andrew Runyon. Not here. We'll make sure that Andrew gets that. And Brent Bovinzi. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. We also have a member of our local Board of Education who deserves a lot of the credit for what these young people do, Mrs. Patty Blood, longtime member of the school board. So thank you. Well, we appreciate the parents and family members that came out to honor these young people. Thank you again for your contributions to the township. Congratulations to all of you, and best wishes for continued success. Thank you. These were two. Where is the
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations
I appreciate you
again.
recognizing
My
that.
pleasure.
He's great. He's great. Should we dock in here before we take a break? I don't know, you know? He's a Jim Wasser fan, you know? No? What? No. We're going to take a break, or we going to wait? Let's go. I don't know. I'm good.
That's rock and roll.
I'm
Mrs.
good.
Dalton needs to go to bed. We're gonna take a 2-minute recess, folks, before we convene our regular session. Just let everybody clear out.
Done. 20 minutes. Showed on the bus at 5:45.
All right, folks, we're going to reconvene the meeting to order. Thank you for your patience. I just want to call the council's attention before we have some presentations to the acceptance of minutes of previous meetings. Please entertain a motion for the September 18th, October 2nd, 9th, and 16th combinations of regular, executive, and workshop meetings.
Mayor, I'm going to have to abstain from the minutes, for vote on the minutes of the 16th.
Now, let's start with a motion, please. I'll move that, Mr. Mayor. We have a motion. We need a second.
I'll second it, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Under remarks, Mr. Howell, what's the evening?
I was actually at Howell High School for the band festival on October 16th.
Okay. And I was not present at the October 2nd meeting, so I'm going to abstain from the October 2nd session.
And since I was unavailable on September 18th, Mr. Mayor, I would ask perhaps that we just vote on each day
We'll vote
separately.
on each one separately. Are you willing to amend the motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to act on Article 4, each meeting separately. Mrs. Showmaker, you seconded. You're okay with that?
Yes.
All right, so let's please begin first with a roll call on September 18th. This is the regular and executive.
Motion to accept, Mayor.
I'll second that. I'd like
Motion-
to ask a question, though.
Under remarks, go right ahead.
One of the things in here was the police department EMS service, and we requested a report. You said you'd follow up on that. Have we received that yet? What were you looking for? On the minutes, on page 2 of the minutes from September 18th, one of the things that was talked about was how much was being billed by the police department EMS services, and we requested a report on this, the council did.
Mr. Filiaccia, do you have that information?
It has not been completed as of yet.
Okay. All right, well, when it is, can we please get it? I noticed when I was going through the minutes, I just wanted to follow up on that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, any other comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please, on 9:18.
Mrs. Dalton?
I will abstain.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Motion and a second, please, for October 2nd.
So moved, Mayor, to accept.
Second, Mayor.
Motion and a second. Any comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
I'll abstain. Motion and a second, please, for October 9th.
So moved.
Second, Mayor.
Motion and a second. Any comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. And then finally, motion and second, please, for October 16th.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor, I'm sorry, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Abstain.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. I'm going to ask the council that we delay reports of officials and we go instead to the discussion on 5A3. We have representatives here from the Freehold Regional School District. We have, in my judgment, the best principal in the county, Mrs. Zena Zerberg. We have the superintendent, Jim Wasser, and one of our Howell representatives, Joan Lineback, who's a phenomenal representative. The reason, and if you folks want to come right up to the front, if you will, to the microphones. It's not the hot seat. Is there a? We'll get you a third chair.
I'll get one.
Well, the two ladies can sit, Mr. Wasser, or Dr. Wasser. As the
kind of meeting this is going to be.
No, chivalry. The reason that we asked for you folks to be here this evening is the council and I have been approached individually, telephonically, email correspondence, people attending our meetings, raising concerns about the distribution of students throughout the district. And specifically, we've heard feedback from residents who have come here and appealed to the governing body for assistance, albeit we don't have any regulatory authority, if you will, to become engaged, but have asked for our assistance with respect to concerns about crowding in Howell High School. And I think it is important to note that no one has ever complained about the quality of the education from Howell High School. As I said before, the leadership in that building is second to none. The academic venue that is provided to the students is second to none. The concern and the feedback that we have been getting has been around the physical plant and concerns around size, and are the children in Howell High School being put at a disadvantage in comparison potentially to other buildings. And so we're at a sort of a disadvantage because we don't have the inside information, and we're certainly not privy to some of the things that you folks might be. Our meetings are televised. A lot of residents follow what's happening in the township this way, and we thought it would be productive to have you come here and share with us whatever information you can around some of the concerns that have been expressed to the mayor and council about overcrowding at Howell High School. And so that's probably the background information. Several of us, the deputy mayor and I in particular, attended a number of the regional board meetings not that long ago, the last time that there was some redistricting that had taken place. And I know that you three fine people are very aware of the sentiments of the people from Howell around that, and I think that there is an expectation at some point that something is going to happen to help Howell High School. And so we'll turn it over to you, and whatever you can share with us would be an enlightening discussion. So welcome, first of all, and thank you for being here.
Right. Okay. You'll have to go in.
Please, if you just pull it closer, and it'll pick you up.
That's good? Great. Okay, well, first of all, thank you, Mayor, Council, members. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me, and I want to first wish everyone that's here a happy holiday season, a healthy one for everyone. I think the most important thing I think the mayor pointed out is I think it's best to get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, so that you're getting it from the superintendent schools that's been dealing in this district. I've been here 21 years, since 1987, worked my way up through the district, was assistant superintendent for 3 years, and the last 10 years superintendent. So I've been involved in this particular matter for a number of years, and so I know a little bit about it, although not an expert. I want to dispel a lot of the rumors, because we hear them not only at the board meetings, but we hear them in the public or the newspapers and so on. I will qualify and agree with the mayor that we have, at my right, one of the best principals not only in the county but throughout the state. I'm very fortunate as a superintendent. I have 6 terrific high school principals. 3 brand new that I just hired this summer with the support of the Board of Education, and we went through a transition. We have a new business administrator, so it's almost like a new district. But I am very, very lucky that I have people who understand children, understand what's important in high schools, and I will tell you now, above everything else in a school, my number one goal since I took over as superintendent in '98 is the safety and security of young people. That's even more paramount than the academics that occur, because if I don't have kids that are in a safe, clean environment, they're not going to learn. And you will not find 6 cleaner, safer high schools in the state of New Jersey. I'm very proud of that. But I'm proud of that because my principals do that. So I want to say that up front. As far as the word overcrowded, I kind of will define that as being that Howell has gone through changes in their high school. They went from a school that was relatively mid-sized, 1,500, 1,600, 1,700. And then the explosion hit this particular area. And I mean this particular area, I'm talking the Freehold Regional. In this part of our county, we got hit very quickly where when I became superintendent in '98, there were 8,100 students. We're almost at 12,000. So we've grown almost 4,000 students in a 10-year period. That's unprecedented. And the other thing I'd like you to be aware of is during that time, we've been on level state aid. So we're producing a quality program on the same amount of money we've been getting because the state is strapped. So we've been trying to make the best of it and try to deal with the matters at hand without burdening the taxpayers, without doing things that would put an additional burden on the taxpayers, not only in Howell, but throughout our entire region. So the issue of enrollment growth is, yes, Howell has gone through enrollment growth. The enrollment now, as I sit here today, is 2,310 students. I keep telling my principal, if you get it down 11 more students, I'll be so happy, because I told her back in March of last year, we'll be just under 2,300. So we're 10 students over that. And it has gone through a dramatic change, where the building has changed dramatically. I will tell you, though, there are sufficient classroom space. There are students in regular size classrooms, accommodated appropriately. All the students are in appropriate laboratory spaces, because by contract, we're only allowed to put the number of students in a lab where there are lab stations. So if there's 24, there's 24 students. We could use the teacher's lab space, so we're allowed to go 1 up. But we can't put 30 students in a lab. By contract, it's not permitted. So lab spaces, everyone's in their science labs appropriately. In the lunchrooms, there are seats that are available. There are empty tables in every one of the lunchrooms. Every high school has a lunchroom usually that might have 600 plus students, but it's not every lunch. Depends on how the schedule's made, and Mrs. Derby could deal with more of that when she speaks. So basically, in looking at the building as a whole, when people say it's an overcrowded condition, it is not. Howell is not overcrowded. It has more students than it did a number of years ago, but it is not overcrowded. Where people tend to see the conditions is when the bell rings and there's that 5-minute period in between classes. And naturally, you have 2,300 students going somewhere, to the gym, to the lunchroom, to a science lab, to world language, wherever they're going, you have that, or going to guidance or to the nurse, you'll have that transition during that 5-minute period. That's in every single high school throughout the state of New Jersey. So when you say overcrowded, and Mrs. Lineback was kind enough to join us one day, we look to see what happens in the hallways, and Ms. Durbig will talk about some of the things she's done to deal with the traffic flow in a school, which has been very successful. But there's not an overcrowded condition. All of the students in Howell have appropriate spaces for the classes they're taking. The typical class size in all the schools, and I did a comparison for the board, is very equivalent. When we looked at the class size, take English 1, for example. The average class size in English 1 classes in Howell is 24 students. In some of the other schools, it's 28, and in one school, it's 30. So it's relatively between 24 is a low, 30 is a high, and that's for freshman English. Mrs. Derby keeps it very low because these are transition kids. These are coming from 8th grade into 9th grade. You really don't want to put them in a class at 30. But when you get to grade 11 and 12, you will have classes at 30. I will tell you as I sit here today, the days of 20 and lower is over, done. We cannot afford to have small class sizes. This district, in the past years, when I came in '87, we had some classes in world languages that had 7 students in it. You know what? Even if I could, I wouldn't do it. It's not cost effective. When you have classes that small, you are burdening the taxpayers with additional costs that they don't need to pay for. I have a class of 30. So someone says to me, my God, you have classes at 30. You have to break them up. Well, if I take a class of 30, let's take U.S. history, and I break that class into 2 classes of 15, That means I have to hire another teacher at a minimum salary of $45,000 plus $20,000 worth of benefits, pension, and all other costs. You're talking another $65,000, $70,000 for what? And then I have 2 classes of 15. If a student moves, now I'm 14. If a student goes on home instruction, I'm down to 13. If a student transfers out of the district for some other reason, goes to a special program, vocational, I'm down to 12. Now I have a class of 12. It is not cost effective. People would like class sizes to be low, but as superintendent of schools, I can tell you, I can't support that. Because every time I do that, it costs the taxpayers more money. And I have an obligation, not only to the students in the district, but I have an obligation to the taxpayers also, in the entire region. And I look at that very seriously. So that's something that I have to say very strongly, that the days of the 20s are over. You will see classes in the 30s. There's no doubt about it. It's going to happen. Now, if they get to the point of 35 or 40 or 39, my principal will call me and say, Jim, I have a class that's really tight, even though I can fit them. We'd like to break it up to 19 and 18 or 19 and 19. And if it's a solid number, then I will give approval. I'll go to the board, and we will hire another teacher to split that class in 2. But that's very seldom that my principals will even come and do that to me. The course offerings, I looked across the district. The AP courses, Advanced Placement Honors courses, are very equivalent from Howell High School to all the other 5 high schools in the district. The way it runs is this. If there are enough of students that want an Advanced Placement course and are eligible, or an honors course, as long as we have enough of students, 20 or more, for that class, we will run that class. We hire the teacher. If I only have 8 or 9, we can't run it. In one of my schools one year, the principal actually went and recruited students for the honors course. There were 12, 15 kids that wanted it. He went to other classes and he told some of the students that he knew, he said, you know, why don't you take the honors class? You have the grades, you can do it. Don't take the easier class, take the more challenging one. And we got the class up to 20, we ran the class. So as long as we have a solid 20 or more, we will run that class in any of my 6 high schools. Because the students are eligible for that course and can run that course, and there's no problem. As far as background on the attendance areas, because again, Mrs. Durberg will deal more with the specific academics on Howell. The mayor used the R word. I don't use the R word too much because even when I went to another community, they used it, and everybody got upset in that community too. So I use attendance boundary lines. It's a little softer for me, more palatable.
What was the R word?
Redistricting.
Oh,
gee. You know, the R word. We don't use that anymore, so I've been trying to eliminate it from our vocabulary.
Take it out of the dictionary.
Take it out of the dictionary. But I will tell you, and I have to thank the community of Howell because they have been really the most understanding. They have been the ones most impacted on any attendance area change. Why? Because you're in a geographic area that's conducive to movement and growth. And it's not that anybody can control that, because I realize the difficulty the town council has and mayor in trying to control builders who want to come in and build houses. It's a massive project that you have, and I give you a lot of credit. But what happened here is very simple. There's a shift from the north to the south. Manalapan and Marlboro, at one time, those schools were pushing 2,400 students. They're now down to 22, 21, and even Manalapan now almost 2,000, about 2,000 students. How did that happen? Because the housing pretty much stopped up north, and then people figured they'd move a little further south, and they'd make that extra 10 or 15-minute commute more to the city. So they bought the houses down in the Freehold Township, Howell area. So we saw the influx in the enrollment going here. So we saw an imbalance. And that's what happened, especially with Colts Neck, because when we saw the growth down here, especially when 2 years ago we had to shut the floodgates, if you will, because Colts Neck was starting to grow, and it's hard to believe this, that 10 years ago I was begging for students to go there. And we had 397 students in 1998, and I was begging to get students in that building, and I couldn't get them. Any way, shape, or form. And all of a sudden, we blinked an eye, and that school went to 1,800 in a minute like that. So they were at the point where their classrooms were in the auditorium, the weight room, the cafeteria had art rooms, which is inappropriate spaces to educate kids. Just like another school had at one time classes in the weight room. They had them in the weight room. They had them in the gymnasium, and they would run classes in and out. And it's inappropriate spaces to put kids in those kinds of spaces, then you really have a problem. The other thing you need to know is that there could be a possibility where a school will get very tight for space, and you'll have to live with that for a year or two. We're worried about it, a little bit concerned for next year, because Howell is still growing, so next year might be a tight year for us. But we're going to do something this year to alleviate it for future years. And we also have some things in place that we can alleviate some of the conditions that people might be worried about so that it doesn't cause any problems to the educational program. So we're kind of watching it carefully, but the good news is overall, the enrollment has leveled off. The district has leveled off just under 12,000 students total. And that's the good sign. And the demographer that we've had, T&M architects, who are the demographers that do our projections, basically projections can only be done for about a 4-year period. Even 5-year projections aren't that accurate. But for the 4 years that our demographer has done them, they've been really on the money. And we've been doing this over the past 10 years that I've been superintendent, and their projections have been right where they are. And they are just what they are. They're projections. Something happens in the area. Right now, the housing market went right down the tube. Things slowed down dramatically. We're worried very much. My assistant superintendent is right now over with the Navy because of the Earl situation. God help us if additional homes come in there. Colts Neck would be busting at the seams again. It will impact the whole district. It will hurt Howell. If Manalapan, and I went to the Manalapan Town Council and told them, the Probasco Farm on Millhurst Road and Route 33, if houses go in there, it hurts everybody. It doesn't just hurt Manalapan. If 500 homes go in there or 300 homes go in there and those students come into our regional district, we're in trouble. So right now, we're in a good position to be in, but we have to watch it very carefully for these things that happen that we can't control. The housing market turns around, that could also have a dramatic impact on us. And so those are things that we watch and our demographer watches. But I'm very pleased with T&M because they've given us good information and they've been on the money. Every year we look at our enrollment factors. The other thing, as I said, we're watching very carefully because what we're seeing now is as Howell's going up, we're starting to see that if Colts Neck levels off, then we may have some additional room where we can start moving some students and change some attendance boundary lines. We didn't do it this year. Mrs. Lineback wanted to make some minor adjustments but did not have the full board support, and basically we have to go with the majority of the board. So we said we would wait another year, but we would plan this year and do a new 4-year plan that would go into effect for 2009. So we're looking at a new plan that would go before the board, probably before June of '08, be approved officially by the board in September, so that this way we would have a plan that would cover us for 4 years. And whatever move we make, we'd like to stick with it for 4 years. Because to adjust it a year or two or every 2 years, it's unfortunate. And as I said, the Howell people have been terrific because they have been impacted the most. There's geographic areas with a population that we look at and we say, well, gee, you're very close to Frail Township, very close to Colts Neck, and you're very close to Howell, obviously. So what we do is we say, okay, well, we can move you over here. Now we have some room. Now we have room over in this school. We have some room, but it's impacting the same people. So we have to look at that very carefully. And I think my board has been great in that what we've done is things like sibling waiver. If a parent has a child in the high school, my board gives approval to keep the children together, regardless of where the attendance boundary line is. If your child's in Howell, you have another one coming in, you want to keep them together, you fill out a simple form, they stay together. If, if there's a specialized program, we're making accommodations. If there's a situation that's a crisis, God forbid a death in the family of a parent or someone else, a traumatic situation, and it's extenuating, the board gives me the authority to say to that parent, you know what, we can move you and keep your kid in that school, whether it be Colts Neck, Marlboro, Howell, wherever it might be. So the board is kind of bent over backwards to really say, look at the situation on an individual basis. Some parents say, I want my kid to be with their friends. And what I tell those parents all the time is, your friends are going to change dramatically when you go to high school. Because once kids have different interests, and even if they come from the same elementary school and go into the high school with 2,300 students, they're going to have different interests, different academics, different things they like to do. They're going to be making new friends. It's it's kind of a minor adjustment to what they're going to go through when they go to college. It's a good experience for them to go through that. It doesn't mean they have to leave their friends. No one's telling them to leave their friends. So basically, I told you about the plan, and then finally, the thing that always comes up and people ask about the 7th high school. And the mayor, we've talked in, not only here with Howell, but I went to every one of the 4 large towns. I went to Manalapan, Frail Township, Howell, and Marlboro. And I asked the same question. This was several years ago. We need to put some land aside. You know, we might need a high school, and I don't know what the conditions are going to be. This was several years ago. You may want to put 70, 80 acres aside just in case something happens. And everybody talked about it. Everybody thought, it made sense, except no one came to the plate to say we're going to lock up 80 acres. For whatever reason. I'm not saying that's good or bad. Just it didn't happen. I will tell you as I sit here today, you do not need a 7th high school as I sit here today, and you probably won't need one for the next several years. And the reason I say that is because based upon the demographic study and our enrollment being under 12,000, we have enough of room to grow right now, pending any of these other things changing. And in order to build a high school today, you're looking at $100 million to build a 9 through 12 high school at about 1,600 students. I cannot, in good conscience, put my head on a pillow at night and burden the taxpayer of any town with that bill. So I will not do it. That'll mean the classes will be 30 students, maybe 32, and we will survive and we will do extremely well. So I just want to let you know that because, again, the other problem is, and Ms. Lineback will deal with that because we talk about land and how much land we actually have. We don't own any land. So we would have to get land from someone or purchase it, and with a budget that has a cap, we're not allowed to really exceed that to find out ways to do it. And referendums today aren't flying the way they were because people are disgusted what happened with the School Construction Corporation. Billions of dollars thrown away, and people are frustrated. And I don't blame, and I'm a taxpayer in this community too, and I don't want to pay anymore. I'm tired of it too, and I think we need to get a handle on it, and I'm hoping that our governor comes up with a strategy to be able to figure out how to share the wealth a little bit so that districts like ours don't get hurt, because we're getting hurt dramatically. So with that, I'll turn it over. If you actually have questions, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Durbig, and then I'll see if that comes up on the, the other thing I did, that Ms. Lineback pointed out, is I had my Buildings and Grounds Department look at the square footage of the classrooms. So if you look at of the old wings, if you took the old parts of the buildings, except for Freehold Borough, because Freehold Borough is the oldest school, but if you took the others, pretty comparable, you have about 750 square foot for an average classroom, a traditional classroom. That is consistent throughout the district. The new construction that we put on, the additions, they're about 900 square feet. So when I looked at it across the district, they're very comparable. There's not one school bigger than the other. The problem, again, that people see, and you can see this for yourself, if you walk in the hallways of Howell and then walk in the hallways of Colts Neck and you see a brand-new school, you'll see a lot more glass and you'll see wider hallways because it was built that way. Most of the schools have the narrow hallways. I really can't do much to make the hallways bigger, with a few exceptions, and Mrs. Durbig will talk about that.
Come on,
also.
Doc.
I'm good, but not that good.
Come on.
I can make you think about it, but basically they are what they are. So if you want to ask a couple of questions, then I'll turn it to Ms. Durbig, whatever you choose, Mayor.
Any questions for Dr. Wasser first? I have a couple, but go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, I would, being as a parent who's blessed with a child, or a young lady in Colts Neck High School and a young lady in Howell High School, you know, from talking to them and their friends, there is a difference. Okay, especially that 5 minute, there is a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I looked at some of your reports that were sent to us from Lineback, and I read them, and I noticed that the next year you're projecting like 1,750 high school students in Colts Neck and like 2,300 in Howell.
Maybe 24, and about 17 and change at Colts Neck.
So that's a 650
Right.
child difference in the same school, in the same size school.
No,
Smaller
it's
hallways.
not the same size school. Square footage, if you look at the square footage of Colts Neck High School is 220,000 square feet, and Howell is 249,000 square feet. Howell is a bigger school. But again, when you go in there, you're right, when you walk in that entrance hall, when you look down that hallway, and you see the way the glass was done, because it's almost like on a college campus look, where we have the courtyard and everything, you don't have that kind of accommodation in Howell. It's an older building.
But still, it's 10% larger, okay? 10% more students would be 1,925 as compared to 2,400. Comparable sizes, you're looking at 475 more students. 20% more students in the same equivalent area, okay? You know, my thoughts on it from reading all and from going to the meetings 2 years ago is this is what a lot of the residents of Howell's concerns were. This is exactly what they were. Well, in Howell, there's going to be 500-600 more students than there's going to be in Colts Neck. Why are you redistricting? And now the numbers are coming to us, and it's basically what was said 2 years ago. And that's a little bothersome to me, because you said something that did not sit right. That we're at the whim of the whole board. That no matter what we think is best or what Ms. Lineback suggests, if the rest of the board from the other towns says no,
Yeah.
then we're stuck. And that's not comfortable. I have no problem with either education. Thank you. You know, my daughter just came home with her first report card as a freshman with straight A's. God bless you.
Oh, wow.
I was thrilled. Okay, but you know, this is what people were concerned
Takes
about.
after her mother.
Right.
She does. She does. Her mother was very smart, still is very smart, and I'm a moron and went into politics. So, but, you know, that was the concern of the people of Howell, and now we're really at everybody else's mercy.
Right.
Okay? It's not a comfortable position to be in. 2,400 to 1,750, where you admit that the one with 2,400 has smaller hallways, so it's tighter traffic when that bell rings.
Well, but let me just clarify one thing. If you go back last year, just rewind the clock 1 year,
Okay?
and you went back into Colts Neck High School, you would have seen, and you walked with me through the hallways, you would have seen bigger hallways. You would have gone to the back of the cafeteria, you would have saw a crowded cafeteria because there's only so many seats in there too, and you would have saw in between the cafeteria art classes in part of the cafeteria. You would have seen English classes in the auditorium. You would have seen classes in the media center. If I then took you the same day over to Howell High School and walked into Howell High School, you would not see classes in the media center, other than if they're down there for research. You would not see classes in the cafeteria. You would not see classes in any non-traditional classroom setting. So yes, you're right, there's a difference in the number there, but it's class size. Colts Neck was busting at the seam. It needed relief. And that's the reason why we couldn't move anybody else in there, because we would have faced the same problem this year, next year, and the year after. Now, as we watch the enrollments, like I said, we need to make some adjustments, but then the question's going to come up, all right, where are you going to take the kids from? You know, are you going to take them from, you know, the west side of Route 9, the east side of Route 9, the northern section of Howell? Where are you going to take them from? And obviously, you want to take them too far because of transportation concerns. Although in our district, we have kids transported all over because we have 13 specialized learning centers and academies. So we're constantly busing. But you want to also geographically, for example, you wouldn't want to take Southern Howell, your middle school, south, and then move them all the way, let's say, to Howell Township. You'd be passing 2 high schools to do that. You know, if you're closer to a high school, you try to keep them there. But it's something we're going to be looking at because we will watch very carefully next year. We will get through this year with no sweat. We will get through next year. But we have to make a change. There has to be something that has to be given.
Now, I understand it's a little difficult. I mean, look, I know my daughter's 4 best friends all could have went to Colts Neck because their siblings went there.
Yep.
And they all chose to go to Howell.
That's right.
Okay? They wanted to be with their friends from middle school. They looked at it that their siblings were only going to be there a year.
Yep.
And they chose to go to Howell. I don't know if there was, I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
I mean, I did bride my daughter, so I know why she went. But, and John Linebacker, I'd really like to thank you very much. I mean, to hear, you know, Dr. Wasser sit here and say that you were in there fighting for what you thought the people of Howell wanted. I mean, I believe that's why we're all elected, not to fight for our own wills, but, you know, for with the people and to serve the people. It's very nice to hear that. Even though you lost the battle, thank you for fighting it. Appreciate it.
I'd like to say one thing. Is this on?
Yep.
You know, 2 years ago, it's history, and I just want to move forward. And from this point forward, on this side of the dais, you know, as a board member, to be able to try to affect change going forward, because I can't change what did happen in the past. And, you know, to that end, we are talking about starting early, at least 6 months with really looking at the attendance areas. You know, I will know which is the 07728 and the 07727 that actually are in Howell. I mean, there's a lot of things that the Howell board members will be looking at for Howell students. I mean, I'm passionate about that, as you know. So I definitely am looking at that, and I might be jumping things, but I do want to say I did go into Howell High School during Times Square, during the change, and Zena will tell you some of the things that she's done there, but it flowed. There were seats. I mean, I have to say, I would tell you if it wasn't true. I also got those contact calls about concerns, but mostly what I'm hearing from my neighbors is, you know, they're very, very happy in that school. So that's what I'm very happy about, you know, and try to move forward.
Before we move to Mrs. Durbick, any other questions for Dr. Wasser? You had something from Mr.
Yeah, I just, you had mentioned the problem that could occur if if the housing development in Earl, which has been shut to military, now becomes open to civilian housing. Right now, the agreement, if I remember reading it correctly, the agreement is that Tinton Falls was responsible for educating the military children, and then they went to Monmouth Regional.
Right.
But if the developer is allowed to open that up to residential, full-blown residential,
That's right.
now it all goes on Colts Neck.
That's
It's
right.
no longer on Tinton Falls, and now it's not Monmouth Regional.
That's
It
right.
becomes Freehold Regional's problem.
That's right.
Now, you had mentioned if they have additional housing, it's not addition, it's the existing housing
Right.
that's there. It's 530 units, figure two kids per. At some point in time, that 11,000 kids, or 1,100 kids is coming.
That's right.
If they do allow them to open up the other 100 acres for another 700 houses, what can we do? And I had mentioned this probably about a month and a half ago up here. What can we do to make sure that that doesn't happen, or to help you make sure that that doesn't happen?
Well, I know Colts Neck is fighting it strenuously. I know they're going to be there tonight, the mayor, council, and I told many, and I have somebody from our district there in the elementary school district. So I think that's a good opportunity for towns in this area to join together. I know everybody has their own issues within their own towns, but boy, sometimes we just got to rally the troops, and this is an opportunity for, and a cross-partisan lines, whether it's Republican, Democrat, Independent. I think everybody's just got to join together and say, because again, what happens there impacts you. Impacts you. Because then all of a sudden, if those houses are coming, and it may not be next year or the year after, but let's say 5 years from now, that those kids start coming to the high school, and we need relief in Howell High School, and the relief might be at Colts Neck, because let's say the enrollment level's off, there's going to be no room there if those kids come. Now what do you do? And the only other thing I would say to all the larger towns, if there is a parcel of land, I have to tell you, Freehold Regional is very fortunate. Back in 1985, the community of Colts Neck put aside 77 acres of land for that high school on 5 Points Road and 537. Now, interesting enough, the school was supposed to open up around 1989. It didn't. The reason it didn't, most people don't understand this, and I just came aboard in 1987 as an administrator in the district, and they said, gee, in 2 years we'll have another high school. I said, oh, this is great, because it was an opportunity to grow in my career also. What happened was the enrollments, which were climbing in the mid-'80s, were going to 67, 68, 69, 7,000 students. All of a sudden in 1987 started to take a nosedive. In the meantime, the school is supposed to come online. You do not, and I've been in education 36 years, and I've been doing this a little bit. You don't build a high school when you don't need it. You try to build a high school when it matches your enrollment coming. You try to make the two marriage together. Now, it's not easy to do that, but it's like playing the stock market sometimes on how you're going to invest your money. But you don't want to build a high school that you don't need. So the Freehold Regional Board at the time said, wait a minute, what's going on here? Our demographer now, the projections aren't where they were. The reality of the enrollment is going down. Why are we going to open up a high school? We don't need it. Why should we spend $6 million in operating costs every year for heat, air conditioning, staffing, custodian, cutting the grass, and we don't need it? So what happened was they said, we don't want to do it. And then because the voters had voted, they went into a 10-year court battle. Took 10 years to build that high school. And then the superintendent left in '98, and I came aboard. And I had a shell of a school that I had to open in '98, and interesting enough, the enrollment did start going up. As I said, it went to 8,100. No one wanted to go there. You had to beg people. I had a situation where I asked people would they go from one of the communities to move, and I had 240 people sent me a letter saying that they would go. When the time came to move their child, I had 70 of the 240. And we really wanted to get about 500 or 600 kids in that building the first year. We were lucky to get 397. So what we can do, and I think jointly is, and the mayor knows how I feel about this because we talked about it, if there is any way that there's a parcel of land somewhere that you can put aside that might be suitable, and I know it's tough, but I understand laws change on impact fees too. And I think if you can get the legislators to start helping the communities a little bit more with some of the regulations that you can't, I mean, years ago, the schools and the fields and the roads were built by the builders. And then all of a sudden the law changed and you couldn't do it anymore. Well, why can't you change the law back? Why can't we get our legislators and our governor to say you're killing our communities? Change the law. Have these builders put some land aside and say, here's 80 acres, you need a school, you got the school. Then we could build a school. That'll help not only Howell, it'll help the whole region. Because think about it. I would love nothing better than to take your 4,200, 4,500 students, because you make up a good portion of the regional district, Howell kids. Wouldn't it be great to take them and put them in 2 schools? And you have 2 schools at 2,300, 2,200 that can accommodate it and have 2 high schools in Howell. And that's where most of your kids would go, and the only ones that would leave would be the ones for vocational, learning center, academy, if they want to go to culinary. Those would be the only kids that would leave your community. You'd have 2 schools in Howell. That's something to give thought to for the future.
All right, Ms.
Ms. Durbin.
Durbin, you want to share some stuff with us? Please.
First, I want to thank you for your kind words, and to my boss, Dr. Wasser, also. I get to brag a little bit about Howell High School, and I'm pretty good at that. There are 2 sayings we have at Howell High School. It's a great day to be a rebel, and the sun always shines at Howell High School. And it's true. Some of the modifications that we made this year that Dr. Wasser was talking about was we modified a stairwell so that it had a different entrance to the stairwell. It was a very simple project, very minimal cost. We just kind of opened up a doorway for them. It worked so well, we're going to do it on the other side during the holiday break. So that really helped. The other thing that really helped is we designated in our Times Square area, if you will, an up and a down staircase. I met with my student leaders over the summer, proposed this to them. They loved it. This is great. We're going to help you. So we have an up and down staircase. It works. We are also modifying another area in the building at a minimal cost. We're going to add 2 classrooms to a space that already exists, so everyone should be in a traditional classroom setting next year. That is my hope. Some reality with numbers. As of November 6th, my largest, first of all, the capacity in the lunchroom is 660. The largest lunch period on November 6th was 629. The smallest was 413. So yes, there are empty tables. You know, it's like, sometimes I say to the children, welcome to the bistro, because they want to sit with all their friends, and that's it. And they want to sit in the rear of the cafeteria. But there are plenty of tables. It's a matter of choice with the students. Some other facts: over 93% of our graduating class pursues a college education. 3/4 of our senior class takes the SATs. The students have been recognized by the National Merit Scholarship Program as commended semifinalists and finalists. In fact, today, I opened a nice big white envelope. It was a special recognition from the National Merit Scholarship for one of our seniors. He doesn't even know about it yet. The regional offers...
TV. Don't tell
Okay.
him.
Whoops. And they know it's a he. Whoops. The regional offers 21 advanced placement courses. We are currently running 17 at Howell High School. We have steadily increased enrollment in advanced placement courses over the past 4 years. Also, we have advanced placement scholar winners at Howell High School, which means they have scored 3 or above on multiple advanced placement tests. That's a pretty amazing feat. On average, we send at least 4 students every year to the New Jersey Governor's School program. Last year's valedictorian is currently attending Brown, and our salutatorian is attending the University of Pennsylvania. This year, Princeton University is pursuing one of our seniors, and another senior has signed a letter of intent with Duke. The class of 2007 is attending schools such as Boston College, Fordham University, Lehigh, NYU, Colgate, Cornell. They're just terrific kids. They earned last year's class just about $9 million in scholarships, awards, and grants to pursue their college educations. For the past 3 years, Howell High School has met every single indicator set forth by the state on the New Jersey High School Proficiency Assessment. We're very proud of that. That's a biggie, because we're right up there with the big dogs. Okay. After the curricular day, Howell High School keeps going. We have 51 active clubs. We have 26 varsity sports teams on every level, freshman, JV, and varsity. Our academic challenge team has been featured on Channel 12, and it's become such a popular activity. We have 3 sub-teams. We at TSA that you recognize today. We also have national winners who I know you will recognize in the future from Howell High School. They have taken state, regional, and national honors. We had an unprecedented 23 students this year make all shore chorus. It's the highest number in the shore area of any high school. Rebel Yell, need I say more? The marching rebels and their hot salsa, and if you got to see that, they are terrific, and they are involved in competition. Okay, sports. All of our teams did exceptionally well this past fall. A couple of highlights. The boys soccer team won the Shore Conference Championship as well as Class A North. Girls gymnastics placed second at the Shore Conference, and our Austin Phobes was crowned the overall champion. She's also a state title winner. You've also heard something about our varsity football team. They won the Shore Conference Constitution Division Championship and are playing their second year in a row for the state championship this Friday night at Rutgers University. Kickoff is 8 p.m., and I have a question to ask you.
If they win, they're going to play the Giants the following week and win.
And my
play the
question
Jets, they'll win.
is, are you ready for some football? And on behalf of Howell High School, I'd like to give you a gift.
Uh-oh, man. Are we in trouble? Are we in trouble?
You can wear them to the game. While Mrs. Durbig is doing that, you have to understand, I don't think the public is going to take this opportunity for a real plug for her.
Thank you very much.
No Child Left Behind, who've ever been hearing about it over and over and over again. It's up for reauthorization. It is an extremely difficult process. It is what they call advanced, adequate yearly progress, AYP. Mrs. Durbig has gotten Howell High School to pass 41 out of 41 indicators. I mean, that is phenomenal.
Sorry,
And
Doc, this is for Sean.
as,
Mine's a little larger.
as a result of that, the entire district was able to pass. We were taking off, you've heard about, they usually put in the newspaper about schools of improvement, and I don't really have a problem with those words because I think everybody can always improve, but a lot of schools feel it's almost like a slap in the face, like you're failing. We got off the list. We are not on the list of school improvement any longer, and it came at such a significant time because this is the last year of No Child Left Behind. It's up for reauthorization. So what this woman has done, the students are serious. I mean, I'm not an advocate of one test on one day says it all. There's a lot more that goes on in high school that's real exciting and valuable. But the bottom line is that's how we get evaluated on that test. That didn't happen accidentally by the kids just coming in and studying for a test. This woman has gone leaps and bounds, morning, noon, night, weekends, to come up with strategies, ideas, and programs that have benefited not only Howell, but the district, because my 6 principals share with one another, and we have a district moving in the right direction. I tell this to people around the state all the time. You can give me 6 more high schools with the same kind of quality principals and 12,000 more kids, and I'll take them tomorrow and run the district. No doubt about it, because my people know what they're doing. And again, I want to just, and I'll turn it over to Joan, but I do want to thank the Howell citizens particularly because, again, they have been impacted. And I understand, I know the mayor fights very hard for them and the other council people that I know, but the reality of the situation is you're going to make the changes with the population. Is you're not going to go to a rural area and say, well, you people are going to move past schools. And they've been, and for the most part, with the size of the population in Howell, the people that have come to the board meetings have always been respectful. say their piece, they may disagree, and they move on, and they understand. All they want is good quality education for their kids, and that's why I asked Ms. Durbig to come tonight with me, because that's what you're getting there. You're getting quality education. That the only thing that frightens me is there are a lot of other towns that are not part of our region that want to be stepchildren, and we're starting to see other people try to come to our schools that don't belong here, and that's a whole nother topic for discussion. But we're doing a great job, and it's a tribute to this woman. And I want to thank the town council for Ms. Lineback, because she does fight very hard for Howell, but has to be part of a regional team to make everything work cooperatively. So, John, I'll throw to anything else you have.
I don't think I have much more to add. I have to say I'm very proud to be a member of the Freehold Regional Board of Ed. The 6 high schools are really fantastic. Great administration, I have to say that. And like I said before, moving forward, we have our eye on the ball for the following year. That's what all I can do right now is look forward to that. I tried. And get a good plan in place that will be able to go out, at least my goal is for it to go out as far as possible to disrupt the town's, neighborhoods as little as possible. That's the goal, because frankly, it's my neighborhood too. But I did go into that school, a little bit skeptical because of what I had heard. And a point I want to make too, there was rumors about freshman cuts. Mrs. Durbig said no, there were no freshman cuts on any of the teams, all freshmen.
Football, freshman football.
Football, freshman football. So that rumor was not true. There's, as you heard, seats in the cafeteria. Is it tight? You know what, I think if you go into Freehold Borough or Freehold Township, they look tight too. I've been in those schools years ago before the additions, and they had to walk outside the school to switch classes, and other high schools. The narrow hallways do give a crowded feel. I feel if the class sizes are 24, 25, or 30 and comparable to the other schools, if the classrooms are the same size, I think we're doing a good job educating our kids in town. I really do.
I just had a couple of questions. For September 08, do you anticipate any tweaking that might be necessary where kids would be required to move from one school to the next, incoming children, if you will?
For this coming September?
September 08.
No, what the board voted on is, we always do it a year in advance.
Right.
So, as you know, in that, years past, they used to do it like around March to June, and that is so detrimental to an 8th grader. You think about it. Any of you had an 8th grader, you'd start your registration process this coming month, December, January. You'd go to orientation, and all of a sudden the board would make a change and tell your kid, March, April, May, oh, you're not going to school A, you're going to school B. I mean, that is, then you got to go to a new orientation. So we made a conscious decision years ago, we're going to give like a year's notice. So we tell them this September of 08, they will be told for 09, whatever change there would be. Now, there are, again, the board has been very good at allowing us to bend a little bit. So we're looking at things of, for example, we have, for seniors who want to take some college courses, they have early release. They can apply for that and only be in the school for the courses they need and then take some college courses, and or go to work and go home early. So we have things in place to alleviate some of the, maybe the tightness that people are feeling. And Mrs. Lineback had a good expression at one meeting. She goes, all we're looking to do is take a little air out of the balloon. That's all. Just a little air out of the balloon and give it a little bit of release. What we're planning for, though, is the plan that comes into play for 08 will go into, that's developed, will go into effect 09, 1 year later. And hopefully, as I said, we'll try to go out with the demographer and say, look, we need a 4-year projection on the current circumstances. We'll watch very closely what's going on with Earl and other things, and then try to come up with a 4-year plan. So whatever area we move, you're moving 4 years, and it's like a 4-year process. And that, I think that would be suitable instead of doing it every year. But again, if something out of the ordinary would happen, we have to make some adjustments. Go back to the board and ask for them to do that.
I guess really the primary question I have is for Joan, who I have the greatest confidence in. So if Joan Lineback says things are good for Howell's kids, and I have enormous respect for the two of you, clearly. Joan lives in Howell. She worked her tail off to get elected, and she's been a fantastic watchdog for us. If you're saying it's okay, I'm okay.
I see great things over there. I don't see a dangerous situation. I honestly don't. I walk through the school. Okay. I've been in the school many times, so I just don't see that.
And I just, one comment from my perspective as mayor is that, and you talked about it, Dr. Wasser, about the Howell people have sort of gone along with it, been cooperative. I would be remiss in my responsibilities to my constituents if I didn't say they're getting pretty close to not wanting to be so tolerant. And you know this.
Sure.
And the people that attended the meetings that the deputy mayor and I were at last year, and there were a lot of them, people are passionate and they're concerned. So I'm very happy to hear that there'll be a longer range plan so that the intermediary kind of tweaking that can really disrupt a student, if you will, is not going to be the case. So whatever can be done, and I know you're doing everything you can to get this 09 plan in place to give people a peace of mind. Whatever help you need from us, let us know. I do know that we implemented some things here last year where we are sending you copies of the minutes and the agendas from the zoning and the planning boards, so you can begin to see what's happening here, and we'll certainly continue to do our part and try and hold the line on new developments that have an impact.
And if there's anything that we can do, again, with law changes on impact fees for builders, like I said, I have people over there at the Earl thing now letting them know about the impact it's going to have on our region. Please let us know, because I think we need to join forces on stuff like this.
We agree.
And use whatever legislative power we can muscle, because we're not getting our fair share. We're really not. We're getting the raw end of the stick in the middle-income districts that we're in, and the taxpayers are feeling the burden on that. And it's not fair.
Any other comments from council members? Mrs. Dalton, Mr. Howell, anyone?
Just one thing, the superintendent and I had the conversation about Earl. Just, people have to understand that this isn't something that's 10 years away. This is something that could be 2 years away.
That's right.
So it could have a drastic impact on us now. Not, like I said, it's not a decade away. It's a decision that they're in the middle of now.
Right. And we'll have to live with it.
Well, we know that Friday night's a big night. I would be there, but it's my wife's birthday, so I'm in a, I don't know
Dinner in New
the,
Brunswick. Dinner in New Brunswick. Mayor, come on.
so I'm working on a compromise plan, but good luck on Friday night.
I would like to thank Ms. Wisner, Public Relations Director, who'll be watching my son on Friday night, so me and my lovely bride can't attend the game.
Isn't that great?
Carl, you will be chasing Sean? But, from sitting here, though, it seems like we're all in this together, which is what we really are. And there are difficult times. We understand about state aid being stagnant or being less, and costs going up. And we're also under those caps. But I am thrilled about the education in the Freehold Regional High School District, being a product of the home of the Braves, Manalapan, class of '76. And my daughter will be graduating Colts Neck this year, and having a daughter who's a freshman in Howell. And I'll let the cat out of the bag. I'm thrilled she's a freshman in Howell, because under the leadership, I think she'll go very, very far. I see how enthusiastic and passionate you are for all the children of Howell and the education and supporting them in all their events. I see you everywhere. And it's a great thing to see. It's a great thing to see a principal with that much enthusiasm for our children. And that goes a long way. As a parent, I notice it greatly. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the three of you coming out. We appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
And extend our thanks to the board
Okay,
as
and
well.
happy holiday again.
Likewise. Thank you very much, folks.
Friday.
Class of '76, Manalapan.
Yes, they broke it in.
All right, I just want to ask the council for your indulgence because of the lateness of the hour. We have a pretty thick agenda. Is there anything under reports from any of us that needs to be talked about this evening? Okay.
Nothing.
Mrs. Schlegel, under reports, what do you have for us?
Yes, I want to just make some holiday announcements. The Howell Township Christmas tree menorah lighting ceremony will be held Wednesday night, December 5th, in the municipal complex, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Please bring a please bring a non-perishable food item for the Howell Food Pantry. The Howell Recreation Department is accepting letters to Santa. They can be mailed to Santa, Post Office Box 580, Howell, New Jersey. Santa has also progressed with the times and has gone electronic. A highly well-kept secret, Santa is accepting and answering daily emails. Santa can be reached at santa@twp.howell.nj.us. Another announcement, there's a group of dedicated volunteers that have organized the Howell Holiday Giveaway. They will be accepting usable clothing, toys, and housewares. Items can be dropped off at the Recreation Building on December 6th, 7th, 10th, and 11th from 9 to 4 and 6 to 7:30. For additional information, please go to www.howellholidaygiveaway.com for more information. That's it for me, Mayor.
Jeff, so please go right ahead.
Two little things. One I think is very important as far as the professionals. I would like us to be able to re-advertise for professionals again. I've had a few calls that they didn't see it on the board, and I know it's up to our discretion if it's the will of the council. I'd like to see us re-advertise to see if we get in any more RFQs so that better serve the people of Howell. There's some things we only got in one resume, or one package. I would like to see a couple more than that.
Mrs. Dalton, you have a comment?
Yeah, I echo Mr. Walsh's sentiments. I was asked by a couple of colleagues when our deadline was, and I said, well, you missed it, it's too late. Not only attorneys, but also some planners who were surprised at how early, and I'm glad that we are trying to get a jump on things, but I heard from a number of people that they were very surprised how early our deadline was.
Any other comments on this?
It's not a different issue than it has been.
It's the same timeline.
It's the same timeline that it has been since I've been here.
That's correct. I just be cognizant of the fact that we need to make appointments in a timely fashion, especially for our boards.
Well, if there's an interest on behalf of the council to re-advertise, I don't think it's an issue, but do you want to re-advertise for all of the positions, some of the positions? Were there any in particular that someone wanted to pursue?
I believe there's like 5 or 6 positions, we only got in one. And I'd like us to re-advertise.
Would you, to what the mayor's saying though, would you like to advertise those positions that maybe you have less than 3 or?
Right.
Or do you want to redo every,
That would be fine with me.
I think there's some
less than
areas
three
where
is
you
fair.
had
Less than 3?
quite a few people that may not be necessary to do that.
All right, so I think you have consensus that for any professional position upon which there is less than 3 bidders, we would like you to re-advertise those. Mrs.
Can I,
Dalton?
on the similar topics, do we advertise for our volunteer boards for resumes?
That's already done.
And
Yes,
when
it
when are those resumes due, or letters of interest due?
The following Friday, which is maybe December 5 or 6.
Okay, okay.
Please.
I know we have a board position open tonight for approval, planning board, and I looked at the resumes or the applications that are still on file, and they're sort of the same ones over and over again, and I'm just wondering if the council would entertain perhaps holding off on that appointment until we're able to have the general public and everyone who perhaps hadn't submitted an application for the planning board or any of the other boards last year to be able to get their name in, so that we have, since it's so close to the end of the year.
You have alternate members of the board that are obviously filling in, and I happen to agree with you, to appoint someone for the purposes of a month.
I'm fine.
I absolutely
Right,
agree.
right.
When we get to
I
that
would
point,
just like to
we'll
see,
strike it
because
from the
a lot
agenda.
of the people are so, I think those applications have been copied about 1,000 times now.
Well, those are the people that submitted applications in December of 2006. They may not even have an interest in participating. All right, when we get to that
Would you
point on the
like-
agenda, we'll
we-
just
we
strike
can-
that.
At the direction of the council, we can certainly put an additional blurb on our website requesting, letting, residents know
I think it's an excellent.
that there's some volunteer opportunities.
Is it advertised currently on the cable access channel as well?
I don't know, but we can certainly
If-
make
if
sure
you
that
would,
happens.
Please.
Would you please?
Do you have another?
Yeah, one more thing touches home with me, and I just wanted to bring it to the manager's attention and to the public's that there'll be a challenge of football and cheerleading for special needs kids, starting with Hal Pop Warner next year. Bob Novelli is the president, and the former president, Kevin Swayze. They'll be trying to get a lot of information out there into the public. They've asked me to mention it to you, see if we can put it on the public access channel. So they can get the word out there. They'll be starting that here in Howell for the special needs children. There's some different organizations over the state of New Jersey that are doing it, and Howell, our Pop Warner, a lot of the people on the board there thought it'd be a great idea to do here. If there's something we could do as far as getting the word out there ourselves, I already spoke to the Board of Ed. I'll be speaking to some different organizations in Howell that deal with special needs children. And it's not just for Howell children. It's for any children that want to participate.
If you ask Mr. Novelli to contact my office, I'm certain that we can help him in some way.
Okay, thank you very much.
Terrific, thank you. All right, we're going to go to hearing of citizens. We have several folks who put their name on the list. Just for the benefit of the public, it's 9:05. I am going to attempt to encourage everyone to be conscious of the participation rules that we're trying to have in place, and conscious of your neighbors so that everyone has a chance to be heard. We also have an extraordinary agenda tonight. There's some 55 items on for resolution, so for the betterment of those council members who I know get up at the crack of dawn in the morning, Mrs. Showmaker and others, your participation toward that regard is appreciated. The first person, Mrs. Dixell. Good evening and welcome, Mrs. Dixell. Come on up.
I got on one knee back there. Oh, I'm gone. Hello. Hello, Mrs. Dixell.
Barbara Dixell, Howell Township. Okay, I'm going to start off by saying I'm very proud to tell you all that how our kids outperformed the district, the county, and the state in proficiency in math, science, and language arts. The special ed kids also outperformed the district, the county, and the state. The wonderful education our kids get in Howell will follow them throughout their lives, and we should all be proud of our kids and the job that teachers do to get them there to this level in the No Child Left Behind program, because we're not on the lists. That's wonderful. And like I said, well, our kids constantly outperform the state. That's a lot to be said. Also, Howell's kids are just about the best in the USA in technology. The 10 kids we honored here tonight scored second in the nation in the technology competition, and kids already in the high school scored first in the nation. So, and 3 of our kids were inducted into the National Technology Student Association Honor Society. Bravo for our kids. They're the best, and we all should be very proud of them. Okay, Adopt an Angel. I lived in Old Bridge a number of years ago. I did bring this to Helene Schlegel's attention a number of years ago when she was the rec commissioner. I'm going to bring it up again. I'm sorry, I just have to. Adopt an Angel. How Old Bridge Town Hall had a Christmas tree in the rotunda, and it had angels on the tree with the names of needy children and needy people in the community. And we would go there and pick an angel off the tree and purchase whatever that child wanted for Christmas, or needed a coat, or needed a scarf, or needed something, and then wrap it with no name on it. We could not put our names on it, but put the kid's name on it, and bring it back to Town Hall, and the police department would distribute these gifts before Christmas. I'm still saying I think it's a wonderful idea that we could do it here. It was so successful in Old Bridge that they couldn't keep enough angels on the tree. I mean, it just, right after Thanksgiving, these angels just left the tree, because everybody knew that it was there, and everybody just went to Town Hall and took an angel or 2 off the tree and did that. And I think it's a great idea, and I think it would still say to Helene or everybody, it would be wonderful if we could do it here. And yes, I do have the program that's still from 2001 that Old Bridge sent me, that if anybody would, I still think we ought to, it's a worthy thing, and I think we ought to do it. Okay, I'm going to bring up again the village's water bills. We're having problems again, Ms. Schlegel. There's something on the water bills, and if you'll take out my original packet that I gave you that time with all the, okay, whatever. I'm willing to do another study, but there's a purchase sewer adjustment charge on every one of our bills. One of the residents got a purchase sewer adjustment charge that went from $22 on any one bill to $122. This is like a very vague thing. New Jersey American won't answer the questions.
Did anyone call New Jersey?
Yeah, they
American
have.
Water?
They won't answer them.
Well, do they say we won't answer your question? What was
No,
their
they're just,
response?
it's a mysterious sewer charge with a lack of explanation that irks the residents, okay?
No, but not reading from the newspaper, but when you call up and you question this sewer charge, what's the explanation?
Richie, what did
that you
they
get?
tell the person? No, but what did the person say? That they wouldn't answer them?
No, right, but before we can, pursue this, and I will tell you this, I did get an email today, someone had scanned their bill and emailed it to me, and had an $88...
Purchase sewer adjustment charge.
Exactly,
Okay.
but let me just start by saying that, first, I think that before the township can even get involved in someone's sewer bill with New Jersey American Water, as a resident, the resident needs to contact New Jersey American Water and question the bill.
Okay, well, what I did when we were sold to Jersey American from Adelphia, I did the study on the water bills, and we were hundreds of thousands of dollars. We paid more than anybody else in the entire state of New Jersey, which is one of the reasons why we voted to go with Jersey American, because under Hovnanian, we paid the highest water bills in the entire state of New Jersey. So I did the waters. I'm willing to do this again, where I took 1/4. The people in the villages left the quarterly bill in the villages, or a copy of it. I took the bill, I took it home, and I copied, I did a column-by-column study for the 1/4, and then multiplied it out for the 4 quarters, because it's all the same thing. I paid about $800 for the year of water, sewer. It's a lot of money.
Barbara, if I might, I'm wondering if this might be like a one-time only charge.
Every month.
Now, I mean, for a specified period of time that might be part of that rate increase that
No, 'cause we had-
you attended all
Right.
the hearings.
But they got it.
I know they got the rate increase, the rate increase they wanted.
12.5% out of the
Right.
23%.
Right, I understand. But
But-
do you think
No.
this could possibly be part of that?
No, because in the 1999, when I did the original study, because I said we had to figure out what was going on, every single one of us got purchase sewer
Right.
adjustment charges every month.
Unfortunately, we don't regulate
Okay.
the utilities,
Well,
but the Board of Public...
I know, I understand that.
I would recommend that if you're not getting an answer from New Jersey American Water, that you contact the Board of Public Utilities.
Okay,
Because
gotcha.
unfortunately, we don't have the power
Okay.
to regulate.
So
the
what
utility
what'll
company.
happen
Things
now
on
if I
this
do?
one, Mrs. Dixell, hold on one second. We've had a number of people who have had water-related problems with their bills. What I will tell you is that either Senator Singer's office or Assemblyman Malone and Dancer have an excellent constituency staff, and we've referred many residents there who've gone to the BPU, haven't gotten resolution, and his office has done a terrific job in getting to the people of the BPU as a part of the state that we've not been able to get access to.
I
So
can call
perhaps
Mr.
his
Gallagher or
office can
Dante
do that.
Mugrace from the BPU. I can call either one of them. But what I'm going to volunteer to do in the villages again is do another study. And then I'll give you the total numbers, and I'm sure we're all going to pass out because we pay a lot of money. Okay, 9B5, 9B41, 9B46, and 9B47. 9B47, I would question as bond releases. Are we at the point now with Lennar where we can nail their bonds to get the buffer?
Mr. Nunziato, if you may, are we, I'm not even sure if have we determined that there's been specific violations?
There are 3 sections that project is broken into, the Toll Brothers section, Lennar section, and the Ryan section. And the Lennar section is not up for release at this point, which is where the buffer is included. So that hasn't
The
even
Village
come up
One.
yet. That has not come up yet.
Okay.
Okay.
When do you expect it will?
Anything else for us, Mrs. Dixell?
No, I'm just, no. When do you expect this thing will come up in Lennar and, where our villages is a number,
Well,
village
they're not
number?
going to plant in this environment,
No,
possibly
I
in the
understand
spring.
that. All right, because,
Terrific.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixell. Mr. Lariah, good to see you, Mr. Lariah. Welcome.
This is kind of a follow-up to...
Mr. Lawyer, if you don't mind, if you would just reintroduce yourself.
Vince Lariah, 56C in the Villages. I want to just talk for a moment about the election. A couple of years ago, came before you and told you how disappointed I personally was that the Villages had only performed number 3 in the turnout. Well, this last election, we moved up to number 2. We still have Surrey Downs people ahead of us. And I'm coming to tell you that our Board of Trustees are interested and adamant that we become number 1. It's just a matter of developing your own political muscle, and that's what we're going to be doing. This next election, while we had 284 voters voting, we're going to be pushing for 400. We'll have programs put in place so that we can get the political interest among our people. I'm very proud that we moved up to number 2. Surrey Downs is still going to be a tough nut to crack, but we're going to go after them. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lariah. Mr. Ken Harper. Good evening, Mr. Harper. Welcome.
I know what he's coming up for.
Mr. Harper, gee, I have no idea why you're here. It's nice to see you again.
Kenneth Harper, is this on?
Would you use the other one if you don't mind, Mr. Harper? Thank you.
Kenneth Harper, 156 West 3rd Street. Well, you know why I'm back. I'm back for the sewers. And I haven't heard anything from anybody. I got a letter about, I don't know, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that came from her. And...
It's Mrs. Schlegel.
Mrs. Schlegel, sorry.
That's okay.
And...
I've been called worse.
I'm back here tonight to tell you that the problem's gotten worse. And now I have neighbors from the other half of 3rd Street talking to me about it. And I don't know what they're doing. In this letter, it said there was a couple things. Pretty much they put most of the project on you guys, on Howell Township. And they took responsibility for 2 things that they said on here. They install activated carbon air filters, which they do something by the manholes once a week. What it is, I don't know, because when you go over there to ask them, they're very rude about it, and they don't let you know what they're doing. 2 is this other vent pipe by Sunnyside Road that they're planning to put in, that I don't know if they did. There was supposed to be locking manhole covers that were coming. Nothing. The only thing I can say that has gotten better is we're not losing the water in our toilets. Because now instead of it venting through our house, it's venting through the open because they're not foaming the manholes anymore. So instead of it venting through our houses and pulling out water, it's venting through the manhole covers. The stink is horrible. I had 18 people at my house for Thanksgiving. Every one of them made a comment about it. You know, when we pay as much as we do in taxes, it's hard when people come in and say stuff that pay less taxes than we do, and we have this problem. The other thing, my other question is the road. They're responsible for the road. When they came in 1984 and put that sewer line in, they put 1 layer of tar, capped the manhole covers, and never came back. They were paid for 2 layers of tar, because you don't just put 1 layer on a road. And I've spoken to the older people in the neighborhood, and they said when they came in, they did a base coat, capped them, and left. And they've never been back. This is over 20 years. We've dealt with the roads like this. I see no end to this. They don't take responsibility for anything over at Massaquan Sewer Authority. Now the smell's moving more and more up the road. So now I got more and more neighbors coming to me, and they're mad now because now they have the problem. Have you guys heard anything from them?
Go ahead, Mrs. Schlegel.
Certainly. This is actually the first that I'm hearing from Mr. Harper since the original time
Yes.
that you were here. All that I have is that on October 9th was the last time that I had spoken to MRSA. and they had installed that morning, is what they told me. That morning, they had installed the carbon filter manhole covers. They also told me that they were awarding the contract for the venting, for that vent pipe that you spoke about on
Okay.
Sunnyside Road, that they were awarding that contract on October 17th, and that they would start the job on November 1st, and that would be it would only be a 2-day job, which leads me to believe then that it would have been completed by the first week in November, depending on weather or whatever. And that what we had talked about, and I know we had gone to a meeting, I had attended a meeting at MRSA, is that the filters will suck the odor, prior to it going in the air. That was would filter that smell
Yes.
out. And now I'm hearing, this is, like I said, the first time that I'm hearing from Mr. Harper, so that I would assume that I'll be on the phone in the first thing in the morning.
Well, see, unfortunately, we can't call the health department because they don't do anything about it. But before we hooked up to sewer, before we did the addition on the house, we had a septic tank. Our leach field was bad. Sure enough, the health department was there every couple weeks annoying us about it. But the sewer's making a smell. They say there's no health risk to it, which we've proved there's a health risk to it. This is a health department problem, and I think they should step up to it, because when our leach field was bad, which is non-toxic water in a leach field, because you have a holding tank, a gray water tank, then the leach field. All it is liquids dispensed. It's non-lethal, it's not sewage. We were crucified over it. That if we didn't pump the tank, we were getting fined, and they would come back all the time, make us pump the tank that didn't need to be pumped. It was just the leach field was bad, but we had permits in to build a second addition, and since we doubled the size of our house, we had to hook the sewer. We're not going to put a leach field in for a year. But we were crucified over it by the health department. And it's not fair that they could come to us and tell us they're going to fine us if we don't do what they say. How about they fine Manasquan Sewer Authority? Why don't they go after them like they go after us?
Well, you mentioned that you've proved there's a health problem. What is the specific thing you've been able to uncover?
Well, this was the problem within the houses. Remember we had the gases coming in the house? Well, I forget what the name of the gas is, but there's a certain gas. The guy that was here from Manasquan Sewer Authority, he agreed that while you're sleeping, if this gas gets into your house, it's just like carbon monoxide. It just takes oxygen and it kills you. And we had this coming into our house. We've lived for the last 3 years with our bathroom window open. Summer, winter, it doesn't matter when it is. Let me tell you, it's cold in the middle of the night going in that bathroom. But I want to wake up in the morning. I'm not going to die over the sewer. And it's a health department issue. And everything over the years, if I've had a car parked in my driveway, Howell Township's right on it. If it's not registered and insured, they're right on it. I get rid of it. They threaten to fine me. I get rid of the car. We've had a car since 1988 that's been in our driveway, registered and insured. We had the property inspector, whoever he is, that comes and does that, harassing us about that car because we don't use it and to get rid of it. I could really care less if we use it or not. It's registered and insured, and it can stay in my driveway. Matter of fact, when it's broke, I'll keep it registered and insured. I'll let it rot away in my driveway just to make people in Howell Township happy, because I'm annoyed with that. The car gets used once in a while. It's just an extra car. Something happens to one of the newer cars, we use the older car. Unfortunately, it's more reliable than the newer cars, but he told me straight out that it was junk and remove it.
Who told you this?
This is the property inspector, tall guy, some tattoos on his arms. He harassed my mother to the point where my mother she was going to put a complaint in against him with the police department because he wouldn't leave my mother alone about the car. Told her it was junk and he wanted it to leave, and that if she didn't produce the insurance and registration, that he would take her to court. So she told him, take me to court, so on and so forth.
Listen, I understand your frustration, but, we have to get back after this. I went to the meeting at
understand
West Mom. It had nothing to do with a junk car.
I know it has nothing to do with the junk car, but my point is that we have been crucified over the years by Howell Township, the health department, for a number of things. Now it's time for somebody to start crucifying.
All right, Mrs. Schlegel, tomorrow,
These people
you're
and-
going to obviously, we need to get an updated written status report from MRSA. If this was supposed to be done on November 1st and 2nd, and the stench is getting worse, this is a problem. Now, there were things that, in this letter, that they alleged that the township was responsible for doing. Can you comment, for the benefit of the public, the things that they alleged the township was responsible for, and what actions have been taken to rectify those?
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nunziato, because it involved putting in the parallel sewer line, you know, the part that, did you read that, Bill?
No, not familiar with the letter. But I can certainly comment if you would give me the specifics.
I mean, I guess
of it.
the concern is there were things that the township needed to do, and I guess what we want to hear is, what did we do?
It was what MRSA suggested the
Yeah.
township do. So let me just make that perfectly clear.
Yes.
These weren't
Correct.
things that we were obligated to do.
And have we done these things?
No, we have not done them.
And in our professional opinion, if we were to do them, would it help further remediate this problem? Or do our people say that these things won't help?
It's debatable. I was at the meeting, but our partners at Mercer want all the financial burden to come on the taxpayers of Howell.
Well, that was initially what had happened years ago when they went to reline. They had said, well, gee, Howell, put in a parallel line at your own expense, and, we'll be happy to button the road up for you.
But during the meeting, we expressed to MRSA very clearly that Howell Township was not willing to take 100% burden on putting in that parallel line.
No question.
And MRSA expressed to us that they weren't really willing to help us.
The only way it's
So-
going to be done is if we pay for it.
That's correct.
Even though the design that was used to install a line was probably not best practice.
That's correct.
I feel comfortable saying they didn't appreciate my humor in that meeting.
Okay.
Okay? They did not appreciate it at all. I don't appreciate partners that say all the cost is going to come on you. Partners sharing things.
You had a comment, Mrs. Showmaker?
I just want to know what we're going to do to resolve this, because as the senior member here, sitting here, these are situations that we can banter back and forth and back and forth
Absolutely.
and back and forth, and nothing will ever get done or accomplished, and then this gentleman's going to, and I understand his frustration, because all of you know me long enough to sit here. I believe that we do everything wrong or we do everything right. And it appears that he is frustrated because there have been things that somebody has rode him over, which maybe to the extreme. However, this is a situation that is really not in our control, but needs to be addressed immediately, and whatever it's going to take on our part to make MRSA understand this is the way it's going to be and get a final answer. That's what we need to do to get to the bottom of it.
There's a catch-22 with the whole process. For instance, in Freewood Acres, I mean, both sides, east and west, we've discussed installing sewer lines, whether you want to do it, using a sewer budget or sewer assessment. I mean, the numbers were done by one of our consultants, either side. And, of course, Smith Street and the areas where this trunk line is installed, if we were to overlay that now, obviously you don't want to do that if you're going to possibly install sewer lines. And again, even if we were to do an 8-inch local sewer line for our residents in that area, it still doesn't change what goes on in the MRSA lines. I mean, it might solve the suction or the vacuum or the surges that were, local to the 50-some-odd connections that were to those lines, but MRSA's lines will still have the flows that they have and possibly the venting that they have. So it may solve some problems, but not solve others.
Well, they should be able to come in after putting an 8-inch line, put locking lids down, do venting through the 8-inch interceptor or the 8-inch neighborhood collection line, and not have that smell problem. The smell's coming from their sewer. So if they put in a neighborhood collection line that goes into their interceptor line, the trunk line, they should be able to vent off of that and not have a smell problem or a suction problem, like every neighborhood in Howell Township and every neighborhood in the rest of the country. Apparently it works in theirs, it doesn't work in ours. We're the only neighborhood with this problem, so it's not done right. And they even stated in their letter that it's poor planning to run a 36-inch regional interceptor line through a resident neighborhood to allow household laterals directly to connect into it. They said it, that it's bad.
Well, it was supposed to run all the way down Route 9 to Stanley Boulevard, straight down. And they didn't run it that way. It was another thing that I was not very pleased with.
Well, when was this? When they did it?
When they did it.
I thought they were supposed to run it down 9 to Holsey's Corner Road, then into
It
Jackson.
was supposed to go to Stanley Boulevard. Is that correct, Mr. Slagle?
I believe that's what they said
They
at
said
that meeting.
Stanley Boulevard. And instead it took a right turn there.
And then another thing that they write in here, which it's every time they write something, it's like they contradict themselves on it, is Howell Township constructed a parallel 8-inch line and disconnect local residents from, oh no, wait, that's the wrong thing. What it is, they ran an 8-inch line from Sunnyside Road into right in front of my house at the manhole 14 on 3rd and Smith. That's what they're supposed to do. I don't understand what their problem is with that. That's a neighborhood collection line going into an interceptor line. So they said that that's causing interference with their line, which makes no sense because that's what their line's supposed to do.
Yeah, that's...
If you would like, if it's the council's pleasure, I can certainly invite Mr. Savatello to one of the council meetings for an explanation.
I think that certainly sounds like a great idea. I guess the concern I have is knowing the council's schedule between now and the end of the year, it's probably impractical. We're going to be able to get him in. I would recommend, with the council's indulgence, that they come into your office. We invite certainly a representative from the neighborhood to participate and sit in. These folks are a hell of a lot more technical and expert at this probably than the MRSA people are. And so we should take advantage of that. They should have a stake in this and have them, I think the council needs a written report on what have they done. But beyond that, there needs to be a meeting in your office with all the right players.
Sure, and we'll include our utility engineer and our township engineer, and they should be able to give us.
And they also did that where they came in, Howell Township did come right away and do the inspection from their lateral that goes from 10 feet onto the yard into the thing. They did immediately after the meeting that we had. They showed up immediately and inspected those lines and said there was nothing wrong with
I mean,
them.
CME participated in this
That's
on our
correct.
behalf and independently looked at it, and
That's correct.
I think we got to hear from them. Why has it gotten worse and not better?
As Mr. Harper just stated, that our employees from our sewer department went out immediately upon direction to look at those connections. They TV'd them. They reported back that there were no problems. CME was actually out there additionally looking at them. And we reported to MRSA that our lines were clear, because that was originally an accusation that there were problems. So we immediately did that,
You know,
and it was not our problem.
Elaine, I would love to be at that meeting. Mr.
Absolutely.
Savatello. Because in the past, we get the runaround. We get the constant runaround.
There's one other thing I'd like to state. When I went to the Mercer meeting, now this is probably, I don't know, August maybe.
3 months.
It's sad to say, but I would like to have the Freehold Township sewer guy, that their representative for them, at this meeting, because he's the only one that went to bat for us. He told Mercer it was wrong and that it was done wrong. Howell Township, the 2 representatives or the 1 representative, didn't say a word. Sat back in his chair with his hands behind his head and said nothing. All right? The Freehold Township guy went to bat and said it was bad business. It's done wrong. It never should have been done that way, no matter who wanted them to do it. And they pretty much ended the meeting for the public part of that and pushed us away because they didn't want to hear it anymore, because he was right. They know he's right. And they ended the meeting on us. Said, oh, that's all we need to hear. And they ended it. And he was the only one that went to bat for us. The Howell Township guy, he didn't say a word. They asked him if he knew anything about it. Oh, I heard about a bad septic in the neighborhood. I've heard about this bad septic for 3 years now. Where is it? That's all I asked for. Show me the bad septic. But they can't.
All right, so Mrs. Schlegel, you're going to follow up. Mrs. Showmaker and maybe another member of the council should participate in that session, and we'll make that happen.
Yes.
As soon as, and obviously Mr. Harper needs to be there.
Yeah, any information on anything that you get can be sent to me. Thank you,
I have been trying to send Mr. Harper any correspondence that I get from her, so I've been copying to all the residents in that neighborhood.
Yes, we've been getting them. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harper.
All right,
We
thank you.
appreciate your patience in coming back. Mrs. Smith, good evening. Come on up.
As a courtesy to all of you, I'm
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I'll be over for breakfast.
Okay, that'll close the public portion of the meeting. I want to call the council's attention to our consent agenda items. First and foremost, we have to take some action regarding add-ons. So I would like to call the council's attention to the following items, and I'd ask for a singular motion to simply add on the following items. Ordinance 00758, which is 9A3, Land Use, Riparian Buffer. Resolutions 9B 51, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. For the benefit of the public, this includes authorizing the award of a contract to Laserfish version 6 to version 7. It's a system upgrade. Authorizing the return of unused escrow fees to Michael Posner, care of Key Investment Properties, Highway 33. Authorizing the return of unused escrow funds to Stanford Howell Estates. Authorizing the return of unused escrow funds for U.S. Homes and Mill Creek Meadows, a.k.a. Centennial Point. Authorizing the return of unused escrow funds to KSF Investment Spring Hill. Authorizing the return of unused escrow funds to Crosswood Estates Incorporated / Regal Homes. The appointment of a permanent township manager. Motions 9C8 and 9. 9C8 being a ticket raffle for Jersey Shore University Medical Center. 9C9, Catholic Charities, Diocese of Trenton raffle. And for discussion, the nomination of the Bear Swamp Natural Area as an area of significant environmental quality, Monmouth County Planning Board. So I'd ask for a motion and a second, please, to add on those articles.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or remarks? These are merely add-ons. Hearing none, roll call to add on, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, I want to ask the council for any requests, if you will, for separate votes on any of the 9B or 9C items. I think 9B 57 should have a separate vote. Mrs. Dalton, we'll start with you. Anything that you'd like a separate vote on?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for
Sure.
conflict reasons, I need to have 9B50 removed from the consent agenda.
You want it separately acted on? 9B
For-
50?
Unless I can abstain, I need to abstain on that vote.
We'll just have a separate.
What you basically should do is just absent yourself from the vote. Okay?
But if we,
it's a conflict,
but if we move it in one.
Right.
Okay, so why don't we just separately act on 9B
Separate,
50?
that's right.
Okay, anything else, Mrs. Dalton? Mr. Howell, anything from you, sir?
No.
Okay, Mr. Walsh?
I would like to speak to Mr. Filiaccio on 9B2.
So you want to separate on 9B2? Okay, Mrs., anything else?
9B10, I just had a question on.
All right, we'll make 9B10. Anything else?
No.
Mrs. Showmaker, anything for separate?
No.
All right, so the articles for separate vote, 9B50, 9B57, 9B2, 9B40 is the one I'd like, and 9B10. So accordingly, I'd ask a member of the council to move all of the items, including the 9BC and 9B items, excluding 50, 57, 32, 40, and 10.
So movement.
We have a motion, we need a second.
Second, Mayor.
Any questions or remarks on any of those items? Hearing none, this is a roll call to approve.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, 9B50, I'd ask a member of the council to make a motion, please.
So moved, man.
We have a motion, we need a second.
Second, Mayor.
Motion and a second, any comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please, 9B50.
Dalton?
yeah, really, the way to do this when you have a conflict is you can basically remain silent. You can remain silent. You can absent yourself from the dais, and it's no vote, basically.
Okay, so roll call, please, on 9B50. Don't mention her name.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. 9B2, Mr. Walsh?
Jeffrey, I just want to fully understand this budget transfer. Could you explain it to me, please, Mr. Filiaccio?
Yes, sir. Well, when you put the budget together in the beginning of the year, they're based on estimates and projections. The state of New Jersey requires that we live with that budget as you adopt for 10 months. In the months of November and December, we are then allowed to move the money around as long as the amount of the budget doesn't change to meet what our actual expenses have come out to. So every year, we set in the month of November, I do a projection based on actually I do it in October, so I do it based on 9 months expenditure. And I move the money around based on that trend so that we don't end up with an over expenditure by the end of the year. So this is something that we're now, with hindsight, with 9 and 10 months worth of expenditures, we're much more accurate than we were when we put the budget together in the beginning of the year.
Okay. Is there any way in the future that the council will be given a list of what you anticipate to be these transfers to be?
There's no specific items. These are done based on expenditure trends. I take 9 months worth of expenditures and I gross them up to 12 months. I don't identify individual vendors and do anything like that. I mean, you know, I basically take it based on expenditure trends and project forward to try to see where we're running short on money, where we're a little bit over on money, and I'd make those adjustments that way.
Okay, so just you from years of experience anticipating what's going to be needed where and moving it around?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Good enough.
All right, at 9B2, we need a motion and a second, please.
Motion to approve 9B2, Mayor?
A motion and a second. Any additional comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, we also had a request for 9B10. Mrs. Shaw, was this yours, Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Go right ahead, sir.
I didn't understand all of this, so I would like it to be explained to me if possible. I read it, looked at it. These are some liens that we've had. There were tax sales that were held.
Yeah, when we hold a tax lien, the investor, the lien buyer, bids based on interest rate until the interest rate reaches zero. And at that point in time, they then bid a premium. They actually pay more money than is due us until the tie is broken and there's the one remaining bidder. That premium is held in a special trust account by us for 5 years. In that 5 years, the lien holder must either foreclose or the property owner must redeem the lien. And if neither one of those happens, that premium reverts back to the township. It becomes additional revenue to us. So these are premiums that are now 5 years old and are coming into our coffers.
How much additional revenue was it, sir?
I don't have the exact number.
I think it was in the $14,550.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the resolution.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Dalton?
I have one question. These are obviously properties where the taxpayer, the property owner wasn't paying the property taxes, correct?
Yes.
And what's the status of these properties now? Do we own them?
No, this is money from the lien holder, from the investor. If evidently, whatever year he paid the taxes on, they would not have been redeemed if it's just cheating to us. But the property owner has the right to then keep up the taxes afterward. They would either have gone to lien on other years, or the property owner would have paid the taxes. So, they're individual and distinct year by year when you have an outside investor.
Okay, any other questions on 9B10? Hearing none, we need a motion and a second, please.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion? We need a
Second, Mayor.
Motion and a second. Any final comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, I had asked for a separate on 9B40, and I really did so just for purposes of recognizing the Finance Department. We all received a copy of the 2006 audit, and it comes of no surprise that, again, we receive an audit of a municipality, the 29th largest in the state, that is, simply put, it's stellar. And it's really a credit to Mr. Filiatro and his staff. They just do a magnificent job. And I bump into people who are CFOs who will often say, oh, I trained under your CFO, or your guy is this or that. And I just have I'm very pleased to be involved with a municipality whose books get audited by external professionals and get the kind of write-up and accolades that our town gets. So I just ask for a separate vote to acknowledge you and your department, all of the employees that do this. I know it's a team effort, so at least for me personally, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good job, Mr. Filiatro.
Thank you.
I'd like a motion and a second, please.
So moved, Mayor.
We got it. All right. Any final comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. 9B57, the appointment of Township Manager. I'd ask that someone please entertain, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we appoint, hire, continue with Mrs. Helene Slagle as our township manager.
We have a motion, we need a second.
I'll second that, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Under remarks, this will be a good one, so we'll start with you, Mrs. Dalton. Comments, remarks?
I'm not sure we should do this without Mr. Maggot in the audience. Personally, I don't think it's appropriate for us to vote.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. 8 Maggot, 89 Mariners Cove.
Oh, boy, I'm going to pay for that one, because it always gets taken out on me.
I'm sure he'll be the second happiest person in the room tonight, or when he sees this on TV. Anyway, I can't comment that other than I think that all along the appropriate candidate was right in front of us, and she has great qualifications, a love of the town. She will be with us for a long time, I'm sure.
Mr. Howell, any comments, sir?
Oh, Mayor, I'd like to echo Mrs. Dalton's comment, and just in case people from the public don't know, we did interview candidates. Other candidates that we interviewed, one was from Howell, another one was from a township that was almost comparable in size to Howell, but none of them had the qualifications that Mrs. Schlegel had. So I'm thrilled to be able to name Helene Schlegel as our manager. Get the black tape, put it over that interim.
All right. Mrs. Showmaker, any comments?
No, my sentiments are much like my contemporaries. I'm very happy that you're there, that you're going to continue there. I think that since I've known you, I think that you've always had Howell Township, in whatever capacity that you've worked under, always moved in the right direction for them. I think you've always had their best interest at heart. I think you'll continue to do that. I think you're a fine person with integrity, and I'm very pleased to see you there, and I hope to see you there for a long time.
So do I. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
Nah. I haven't interacted with Ms. Schlegel for many years in capacity as the head of recreation. She always handled herself professionally, a lot of knowledge, care of the town, been here a long time. And I had concerns at first on whether or not she was experienced enough to be able to handle the position as manager. And I'll be direct, in the last 4 months, any doubt I had are gone. Okay, we had two people that we interviewed. A couple didn't show up, by the way, folks. They were highly qualified. I was very impressed by the 2 people that we interviewed. The last 4 months has shown me that the right person for the job is the Howell Township manager, was Miss Helene Schlegel. I think we're very lucky. We have a long-time township resident, works well with the people, knows many of the people in towns, what the needs are of the people of Howell Township. Her heart's been here for a long time. She's raised her children here. And I'm proud that she's our town manager. To me, it was an easy vote.
The only thing I'll make a comment on, and it was very timely, we had a resident here this evening that wasn't necessarily supposed to be here. It was a mix-up and the person wound up being here, and has a near-grown adult special needs child. And the person had no idea this was on the agenda. It was an add-on, so it wasn't published anywhere. We took a quick break, and the woman made a point to pull me over and stop me and pull Helene over and stop me. And the woman said, "Mayor, I just got to tell you, I don't know if you know this, but 10 years ago, I met Mrs. Schlegel, and I have a special needs child, and told her we wanted a certain kind of program. And this woman said to me, "You don't know me, but I'm going to make this happen." And she did. And the woman got teared up, and I got a little teared up, and so did Mrs. Schlegel. And I knew right then at the moment that this was the simple best decision we could make. I mean, I sort of knew that to begin with, but that was a message to me that just out of the blue, this person came up, had no idea what we were talking about, and made that kind of comment. Helene Schlegel touches people in a very unique, special way. So I get choked up when I talk about her. I told her from the beginning, and I'll compromise this whole process. After she put her name in, I said, "You're the only person I'm voting for." So she's the right person for Howell Township. She'll be here a long time, long after all of us are done serving our terms, whatever that is. And we're in good hands. So, Helene, thanks for taking the job.
Thank you.
And good luck. You'll certainly have this council's support and the people of the community's support.
Thank
So.
you very much. Take the vote.
All right, now let's get to work. All right, we have a motion and a second.
You need to take the vote.
Correct. We have a motion and a second.
She's nervous now.
She's getting nervous.
She's nervous. Take the vote.
Already corrected me at my job. Could you imagine? Didn't take long.
Can I ask our barristers something before we vote? If I want to abstain, I have to leave them?
Put your head under the
Only if
I
you're
hope you're not going to
conflicted.
do that.
Okay, any final comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Absolutely.
Mayor, I'd just like to say one thing. First, I want to thank the mayor and council for their vote of confidence. And I look forward to maintaining the professional relationship with the entire governing body while serving the residents. And additionally, in advance, I want to thank all the township employees, all the residents, and especially my family, because for their anticipated support and cooperation. Because seriously, it's going to take all of us together to continue to improve the quality of life in Howell Township. And I want you to know that I'm ready for the challenge, and I'm confident that I can meet those challenges. So thank you very much. And I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, I want to call the council's attention, please, back to Article 8, unfinished business. We have several items. 8A1 is the first. We introduced 00748 on October 16th. We're going to begin with that one. This is 8A1, and a public hearing and potential adoption is slated for this evening. Just want to call everyone's attention to that paperwork.
Excuse me?
He has to read it.
All right, ordinance number 00748, introduced and passed on the first reading on 10/16/07 and published according to law, is now being taken upon for further consideration in a public hearing. Affidavit of publication of the ordinance and the Asbury Park Press issue of 10/19/07 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance is posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies are available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, regarding recreation open space.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the meeting to members of the general public for anyone who has a comment for or against the potential adoption of this ordinance. If you'd like to be recognized, please come forward. Anyone who'd like to be recognized? All right, let the record reflect no one is asked to be recognized. I'm going to close the public hearing on 8A1, asking a member of the council to proceed.
Mayor.
Before you do, Mr. Mayor and council members, earlier this week, I sent a memo, which you may not have had a chance to read, a 5-page memo on this proposal. And because of recent court cases, one of them being in Jackson Township, where a similar ordinance was struck down, we thought best to vote this one down, or we couldn't really take it off after it was publicized for a second reading. So I would recommend voting it down. We are going to go back to, not exactly the drawing board, but I've been working pretty carefully with the board planner on this since this was presented to me in early October. And they were talking about it before then. I don't know, I think this originated from, I'm not sure if did it originate from the planning board?
Yes,
It did.
yes, it did.
Yeah. And so they had been talking about it amongst themselves for a little while. The planner himself, well, actually Jennifer Beam has been away, but Mark Marashevsky, who worked on it quite a bit, agrees that it should be reworked. Is concerned about the recreational facilities portion, for example. And he sent me a revised version of this only yesterday around 4:50 in the afternoon. This is after we had had a meeting at the manager's office where we had a roundtable discussion on it, and it was unanimously considered that the recommendation should be to not vote for approval on this right now. As I said, a similar ordinance has been struck down in Jackson. However, another ordinance has been upheld in Egg Harbor Township. The one in Egg Harbor Township is a little bit more complicated because it involves pinelands regulations, which we don't have here. I don't want to prejudice what our legal position could be in the future, so I don't want to comment any further on my opinion about the two different cases. Suffice to say, my research on this is continuing, and our efforts to tweak it to make sure that it meets with any court challenge, if there was one, that would be successful by the township, and we'd like to not invite any litigation on it. So,
All right, so your recommendation is that
recommending
we...
that just vote this one down, and
Okay.
we'll be back. We originally were talking about coming back after these court cases were over. I'm not sure that's going to be necessary. I'm going to do some more research on it and see if we could possibly do something even as early as December, but I'll be getting back to you regularly on this till we get it done.
Any comments from the council? Mrs. Dalton?
This issue is kind of topical to what Dr. Wasser said this evening, and this is all a function of the being limited by the legislative intent of the municipal land use law and no longer being able to require developers to make contributions for things that are not strictly related to off-site conditions or on-site conditions which are impacted by their actual development. I think that we have no choice but to pull it, vote it down, do whatever until we are sure what the status of the case law in this area is settled. I'm not one for getting us involved in making new law. It's far too expensive for the town.
Okay, any other comments from the council? All right, let me recommend that when we do the roll call, a no vote will defeat this pursuant to the attorney's recommendation. Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
No.
Mr. Howell?
No.
Mrs. Showmaker?
No.
Mr. Walsh?
No.
Mayor DeBella?
No. Okay. 882, this is 00749, was introduced and passed on the first reading on 10/16/07 and published according to law. It's now being taken upon further consideration at a public hearing. Affidavit of publication, this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 10/19/07 is submitted, and it noted that a copy of the ordinance was posted in the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies were available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188-207 entitled Non-Residential Development Requirements, set forth in the General Land Use Ordinance of the Township of Howell.
Okay. This time, I'm going to open the meeting to members of the general public. Anyone who would like to be recognized for or against the adoption of this ordinance, please come forward. Any member of the public. Let the record reflect no one's requested to be acknowledged. I'm going to close the public hearing on this particular ordinance. Member of the council, please proceed.
Mayor, make a motion that ordinance number 0-07-49 be finally passed and adopted, that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 12/207 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
With the motion, we need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any final comments or remarks?
Yeah, I see a memorandum in here that this was reviewed by the planning board, and this is what they wanted implemented.
Correct.
Okay, I'm a little bit frustrated with some things the planning board saying that's not what we spoke about. Very happy to see that in there. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, next is 8A3, ordinance number 00751, introduced and passed on first reading on 10/16/07 and published according to laws now be taken upon further consideration and a public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 10/19/07 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted in the bulletin board in the municipal building, where the copies were available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188 Land Use, Section 188-66 of the Code of the Township of Howell, entitled Zone Maps.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the meeting to members of the general public. Anyone who'd like to make a comment for or against final adoption of this ordinance, please come forward. Anyone who'd like to be recognized? All right, let the record reflect, no one has asked to be acknowledged on this particular issue. We're going to close the public hearing. Member of the council, please make a motion.
Mayor, one question, if I may. Sure. Ernie, this is, and Mr. Nunziata, this is going to bring the map where it needed to be. These are the zone changes that were done pursuant to Judge. These are now designated on this map. This is what we've been long awaiting for, correct?
Yes,
Thank you.
correct. Good. All right, we need a motion, please.
Motion ordinance number 0-07-51 be finally passed and adopted, and the notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 12/2/07 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
And we need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, next is 8A4. This is ordinance number 00753, which was introduced and passed on a first reading on 10/16/07 and published according to the law, and it's now being taken upon further consideration in the public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 10/19 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance was posted in the bulletin board in the municipal building, and the copies are available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188 Land Use, Section 188-86.1, entitled Reserved Mount Laurel District by supplementing the ordinance with an attached map.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the meeting to members of the general public who might like to make a comment for or against the final adoption of this ordinance. Anyone who'd like to be recognized, please come forward. Anyone who'd like to be recognized. Let the record reflect that no one is asked to be acknowledged on this particular issue. We're going to close the public hearing. Member of the council, please make a motion.
Motion that ordinance number 0-07-53 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 12/2/07 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
We have a motion and need a second, please.
Second, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, next is 8A5, which is ordinance number 00754, which was introduced and passed on the first reading on 10/16/07 and published according to law. It's now being taken upon it's now being taken upon for action, further consideration in the public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 10/19/07 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance was posted in the bulletin board in the municipal building. Copies were also available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188 Land Use, Section 188-66 of the Code of the Township of Howell, entitled Zone Map.
This time, I'll open the meeting to members of the general public who might like to make a comment for or against final adoption of this ordinance. Anyone who'd like to be recognized, please come forward. Anyone who'd like to be recognized. Let the record reflect no one's asked to be acknowledged on this particular issue. I'm going to close the public portion. Member of the council, please introduce a motion.
Motion that ordinance number 0-07- in stereo. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That was too scary. You do it. That was freaky.
Be finally, -54 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 12/2/07 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Mike at the same time. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any final comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Next is 8A6, which is ordinance number 00755, which is introduced and passed on the first reading on 10/16/07 and published according to law. It's now being taken upon further consideration of the public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 10/19/07 and submitted, and as noted, a copy of the ordinance was posted in the bulletin board in the municipal building, and the copies are available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title?
An ordinance setting forth and adopting a salary range schedule for the salaries for certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the meeting to members of the general public for anyone who'd like to make a comment for or against the adoption of this ordinance. Anyone who'd like to be recognized, please come forward. Anyone like to be recognized? Let the record reflect, no one's asked to be acknowledged on this particular issue. I'm going to close the public portion. Member of the council, please make a motion.
Motion that ordinance number 0-07-55 be finally passed and adopted, and notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 12/2/07 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
With the motion, we need a second.
Second, Mayor.
Any comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, new business. We start with 9A1. I want to remind the council and the public that these are merely introductions.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-07-56 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in the 12/2/07 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held December 18th, 2007, 7:30, prevailing time in the municipal building.
Okay, we need a second, please.
Second, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending the Code of the Township of Howell, Chapter 57, Animals, Article 2, entitled Domestic Animals, Section 57-6, 57-9, and 57-11.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, 9A2, please proceed.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-07-57 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in 12/2/07 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing in the meeting of the Township Council to be held on 12/18/07 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
We have a motion and we
Second.
need a second. We do have a second. Roll call, please.
An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending the Code of the Township of Howell, Chapter 2, Administration of Government, 2-62, entitled Office of Senior Citizens.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, just informationally speaking, council's next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December the 11th. I'm sorry?
We have 983, which was an add-on.
983.
The add-on.
The add-on.
Riparian buffer.
I'm sorry, you are correct. 9A3, which is a introduction.
And it's in your...
It is in the backup packet. Member of the council, would please proceed on 9A3.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-07-58 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in 12/2/07 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title. And that'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 12/18/07 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
We have a motion and we need a second.
Second.
Ms. Woolman, would you please read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, repealing Section 188-34 entitled Riparian Buffers of the Code of the Township of Howell and replacing it with Section 188-34 entitled Riparian Buffer Regulations.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, just as a general reminder, upcoming events, December the 5th, the Christmas tree lighting and menorah celebration for the holiday season will be here on the municipal complex property. Mrs. Schlegel, that begins at
6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m. Again, the holiday celebration here at the municipal complex. In addition, the council's next regularly scheduled meeting is Tuesday, December the 11th at 6:30 p.m. That is a specific meeting to review the professional qualifications and RFPs for various professional positions for calendar year 2008. Council does not anticipate taking action on any other item that evening. And then in addition, our regular meeting is Tuesday, December the 18th executive session beginning at 6:30, and our regular public meeting beginning at 7:30. Mrs. Schlegel, is there any other business for our consideration?
We did have on for discussion. I didn't know if you wanted to touch base on that. There's a deadline on that of November 30th.
Yeah, I had shared with the council, I had gotten some correspondence from the Monmouth County Planning Board and was hoping we might consider nominating Bear Swamp, the natural Bear Swamp area, as an area of significant environmental quality. Mrs. Schlegel, can you elaborate further on that process?
I have to be honest with you. I really don't know the particulars. I just know that it has been identified as an example of an area that exhibits exceptional ecological environmental characteristics. What the Monmouth County Planning Board would like is they are requesting a response indicating the governing body's support for this by November 30th.
So they have
They
designated
deemed
this. I mean, they've brought this to our attention. They're asking us to support.
The planning board sent me a letter. I shared it with the council and the manager, and they would like us to support and acknowledge their determination, which I think would be hard to disagree with, that it is a fabulous area. It includes so many different characteristics.
Correct.
It's just a fantastic piece of property. So it was my hope that we would, in fact, agree with the planning board and dispatch Mrs. Schlegel to have the appropriate department head, whoever it may be, to write the necessary response, provided that the council
I think
was
that's
agreeable.
appropriate. I believe, I'm in agreement with that.
I'm fully supportive of that. I think that land should not be touched.
Ever, yeah.
It is a thing of beauty over there.
Can we do a letter of support from the council? Would that be agreeable to send off to the Monmouth County Planning Board?
Does anyone disagree with doing that? Okay, I think you have your direction, Ms.
Thank you.
Schlegel. Any other business?
Nothing else, Mayor? Oh,
Mr. Mayor, one of the things we passed tonight was authorization to sign developers agreement.
Yeah, you need me to sign them? If you hand them over. Mrs. Woolman, what did you have for us?
The council each needs to sign the group affidavit for the audit.
All right, so before each of us leave, if you
That's right.
please see Mrs. Woolman,
Just pass it on down the dais.
pass it right on down. Any other business?
Just one informational thing, the audit has been posted on the webpage under the Finance Department as of today, so if anybody of the public wants to look at it, read it. The annual financial statement, annual debt statement, and now the audit for 2006 is posted on the webpage.
Okay.
For 2006 is on the webpage, Mr. Filiaccio?
Yes, it was put on the webpage today.
Thank you very much.
Any final business? Are hearing none, motion to adjourn.
I just
So
wanted
moved, Mayor.
I'm sorry, hold on, Mrs. Dalton, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to, I know that Mrs. Dixell had mentioned the Angel Christmas Tree Program, but we also have a program in Howell. Oh, it's the Howell Holiday Giveaway. But I also saw something where we collect, right, so we have something, and just, if everybody could go online and do that, it is the holiday season. We do have a program, we have several programs in the
Yeah.
community for giving.
We have more than one. There's
I'd
two or
also
three.
like to mention, with regards to that Howell Holiday giveaway that Ms. Dalton just spoke about, if you go and either call that number or go on the website, you can adopt a child for the holiday.
Right, that's all I was trying to say.
I still agree with that tree, with the angels. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
They couldn't keep enough of those angels on the tree.
We need a rotunda.
You guys
I'll
have
even
one more
sponsor a
time.
kid who's not quite an
Wait,
angel.
please. All right, any other business?
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Nothing else,
We
Mayor.
need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, everyone.
I think it was a second signature.